Sean, what is the future of MSNBC in the wake of what happened yesterday? Like, where are they headed?
So there's a bunch of questions within that because I felt the whole thing to be weird in the last 24 hours. Like they got rid of Joy Reid, but then they're basically like, we're talking to Eugene Daniels, who I got to imagine is pretty much. I don't really understand the difference between a Eugene Daniels and a Joy Reid.
Cheaper.
Cheaper,
my
right? But
point.
then you're keeping Rachel Maddow to hang out. I mean, like, dude, I'll tell you what. If I can get $25 to work one day a week, she's getting $25 million to work one day a week and do like documentary consulting. I'm really not sure. I don't know that that's sustainable, but
Well,
I get
she's not getting that deal again when it comes up.
fine. But I don't know that MSNBC will be around to give it to her. I think that there is definitely a decline in. I mean, what I find fascinating is they're going to be spun off, and then what's that model look like? Is there enough advertising to sustain it? Are there? It's an unsustainable model to me. There's not enough viewers. They've lost advertising. They have a very bloated high. I mean, I think you're right. They're going to come in. Somebody told me yesterday, and I don't know if this is true or not, but like they were like the beauty of the ESPN Sports Center model was that you had a bunch of people telling you the news, but there wasn't one, like there were, once in a while somebody would get above their britches and they get kind of cut. Right now they've got to figure out, like they're going to bring in, I think, a lot of cheaper folks. They replaced Joy with like Michael Steele and Alicia Menendez. Like it's just, we're going to bring in cheaper talent.
Simone Sanders, yep.
Simone Sanders, and just try I guess that's the answer until you get spun off and somebody buys you. But the question is, who buys you? And do the person that buys you buy into that model? And I just don't think it's sustainable. That's my thing. The thing that I will say is a tangential to this is my addiction is still prevalent that I have to watch most morning shows. I cannot believe, considering the environment that we're in now, how bad CNN is doubling down on that model of like going further and further to the far left. It blows my mind that after what's happening at MSNBC, CNN is following them down a very bad rabbit hole.
Well,
I'm amazed.
I don't know if
I
CNN
still
is,
wonder. I still
sorry.
wonder if that's happening from the top or just like organically. Dan.
Yeah, I think MSNBC is going younger and cheaper, and they're going to try to go more progressive with former officials from government. So Jen Psaki, Simone Sanders, people who can get guests, people who are plugged into the progressive world, and become more. Try to be, look at all the former Republican officials at Fox. I think MSNBC is going for this younger, cheaper talent that they think is going to be able to make more news because they can get people out of the progressive world to, come on, their friends, etc. So, Sean, to your point, is there a business model there? Democrats have tried, talk radio, they've tried cable. Now
The
they're
problem with
talking
cable
about
is that
podcasts.
your average viewer is 67, 68 years old, right? I mean, there's only so, I mean, not to be crass, but the viewership is dying. And so the problem is you have to get cheaper, but how much cheaper can you get as your audience fades?
Well, look, they want to try to get younger. I mean, this is the race of all linear networks, which is how do you attract younger viewers who increasingly get their news from TikTok and podcasts versus cable. Two-way. Sorry, first two-way, then a pod. Yeah. Right, correct. Sorry,
Dan, tell me three things you would do if you took over MSNBC today.
Oh, geez. Hire two-way, put the morning meeting on in prime time. I think the format of shows hasn't changed in 30 years. I think I would look at things like ESPN, where Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith and others have found success, and try to translate that into politics. Don't do the opening monologue for 8 minutes and then just like the static interviews about the reconciliation. Bring people in who are going to mix it up. I'd put Stephen A. Smith on to talk politics from 8 to 9. I mean, people would watch it. Put Charles Barkley on. Don't do the cookie cutter same stuff and expect a different result.
Well, I think the funny thing about the Fox model is that you look both at the 5 and then a Gutfeld show at night. Yep. I mean, and that show's outpacing the other network shows at that. It's just, I think part of this is you're right, Dan. The model is outdated, and it's like they literally just beat the drum over and over again with the same thing, different face.
Yep. Sean, three things you would do if you were in charge of CNN.
Ooh.
I would fire most everyone.
Mhm.
I would
Hire the morning meeting.
yeah, start actually there. That would be the easiest thing. We just go all across linear
Right,
thing.
we're right in the middle.
I'd bring back Robin Meade to do headline news. She was one of my favorites. And then to your point, to Dan's point, I would look at the whole format, and I actually think that there is a niche. I will admit, confess that I am a contributor at News Nation, but I think that the idea that where CNN strayed, and I don't know, you'd have to look at the internals, but there is a desire, I think, for people to just want to have TV on in the back that tells them the news without all of the left-wing commentary. And I think getting back to that and maybe mixing in some things in the evening would be better. So I think, to me, where they're missing the potential audience, because all you need is 400,000 to 600,000 people to be quasi successful in this area. And so I think that that's where I would go. And where CNN has actually done well is succeeded on the digital side, and that's where they should continue to focus.